Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
Let's start with welcoming you into the dungeon.
Thank you.
So we have Michael or Mick. You go by Mick, don't you?
Yeah, go by Mick.
Mick Wiles.
Yep.
And you're from Western Sydney.
So we're based out in Camden.
Camden? Okay,
Camden.
So southwest.
Southwest, deep southwest.
So you probably haven't listened to my recent episode I put out today with Adam Samuel. He's from Penrith, I think.
Yep.
And I've done one with Dirk Streifkirk. I think he knows who you are.
Yep.
Yeah, so...
Yep, we see him around.
There'll be a few people want to listen to this interview.
Oh, hopefully I can entertain some people.
I've had requests for you, so you should feel special. I'm just going to be drinking a special concoction out of my Walker mug.
Supplied by Walker.
Supplied by Walker. Thank you, Walker.
$50,000 cup there.
And, and I got my Cox shirt on, so...
Nice.
I'm fully branded up. But, so your business located around Camden. Oh, you'd know.
Oh, mate, we've got a large area. We're based in Camden, but not all our work is local. Today I'm down in the Southern Tablelands, which is down an hour west of Goulburn. So we go as far as North Richmond. Don't really do any sort of inner city work.
Yeah. Yep, fair. Don't blame you. You'd have to charge like $400 an hour to make it worth going in there.
We need to get our roads fixed. I spent probably 15, 20 years working in a city. So I just had enough.
I've heard people paying like to travel from your area into the city and back. They're paying like $60, $70 a day in tolls.
Yeah. Well, there's one trip that we do is $34. So that's with a trailer.
Is that each direction? Or?
No, that's each direction, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
With our big trailer and small truck.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be doing that for a $40 job.
No, that's right.
Boy. So I'm going to guess you're a little bit older than 46. I'm 46, and people who should be starting to realise I've been putting these out on YouTube, they should be able to get used to seeing my face. And we can see your face, but you got some interesting lighting happening there. So
well, I'm in a dodgy hotel. And
I love it when you keep my ego in check. Recently, I bought the multi-port charging case and a 7.5 amp battery to fill out the 6th spot in the charging case. The multi-port charging case charges all 6 batteries from the least charge until they're all matched and then simultaneously charges them to full. The 7.5 amp battery gives me a great balance between weight and runtime. Plus it goes a little harder on the 1300 metre an hour blower and the STX 4500 whippersnipper. It's often my first battery to get put on a tool. No fumes, no fuss. Just great power whenever you need it. So am I right? Are you older than me?
Okay, so I was born in 1976.
Oh, that's close. I'm born in 77.
So I think that makes me 47, right?
That means you were around while Elvis was still alive.
So I was born on the 16th of August. Yeah. And he died on, is it the 15th of August or something like that?
He died the year I was born, so 77.
Yeah. So my first birthday he died.
Yeah. So I was born in April, so I was alive for a couple of months before he died. Or before he disappeared for the conspiracy theorists out there.
That's right.
I'm sure he's still around eating big cheeseburgers and Big Macs.
What do you have? Deep fried peanut butter sandwiches or?
Sounds delicious. It's getting too close to dinner time. Stop talking about food. So given you're a similar age to me, that must mean you've got similar interests to me, right? Like running and motorbike riding.
Oh, look, I stopped running when I was about 35.
Yeah.
Done the standard city surfs and all the colour runs and all that sort of stuff, but this industry takes it out of you. It takes your knees away from you, but
it sure does. So what do you do when you're not on the tools? Or are you on the tools so much you don't get to have fun?
Look, I've actually in the last year figured out the work-life balance. But we do a lot. My family, we do a lot of caravanning.
Yeah,
We
nice.
generally take 1.5, 2 months off a year and travel in the caravan.
Yeah. So do you do that in winter, like all good people?
Yeah, typically it has been winter, but I'm going to plan. I want to do something summery. So we typically like central Queensland and up through the lower half of the Northern Territory.
That's good in winter, not good in summer.
Yeah, that's right. So I want to do but we've done winter because it's convenient with work. It's convenient with my wife's work too. So, but I want to do something summery. So
I went to Tassie last Christmas. I went down on Boxing Day, left Cooranbong, down through Sydney on, was it Boxing Day or the day after Boxing Day? I think I left here on Boxing Day and I was going into Tassie on the 27th. But it was 40 degrees going through Albury, Wodonga and through middle of Melbourne. It was a stinker. And then into Tassie and got up the top of Mount Wellington. It was 1 degree. Same day. Oh, no, hang on. No, that was the next day, sorry, because it was overnight on the ferry. So, yeah, Tassie's highly recommended in the middle of summer. You can get a little bit better climate.
Yeah, we want to do like the South Australian coast and go all the way along to the southern part of Western Australia, but I don't want to do that in winter. That's,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good one to do when it's a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
I reckon that'd be good for sort of early spring though. If you get the middle of summer, you could get pretty darn hot down there too.
That's it. Well, we did find this year we went up through Townsville in July. And it was swimmable. It was, 30, 32, 33 degrees.
Nice.
Beautiful weather. And came down through Sunshine Coast and headed home.
Yeah. Well, I tried to do winter holidays in North Queensland like you, and I'm planning next year to do Cape York again. So
yep. You going to do that on the bike or
no, 4-wheel drive. So I've got a work Hilux that's going to do the trip.
Yep. Yeah.
I think I need to just plaster it.
The Cape's second on my list, so I want to do something summery that my daughter's going to like, beaches and things like that. So,
yeah, well, I've done the Cape before, but it's one of those trips you just want to do it again.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
got as far up as Cairns, Port Douglas.
It's nice up there.
It's not nice at the moment. It's flooding and everything at the moment.
I've actually had somebody recommend that I start interviewing people in Cairns while they've got no work to do.
Smart asses.
It was, I thought that's actually a good strategy, but it's probably a little bit opportunistic. Well, bit of a parasite move, but Okay, so the caravan life, touring around. I love doing road trips, but I'm not that keen on towing a caravan. So
no, my wife and daughter like their creature comforts.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That's what it takes to get them on the road.
Yeah.
And,
For me, the creature comforts are about to be a rooftop tent instead of a tent on the ground with the crocodiles chasing you. Yeah, well, I've thought about getting a rooftop tent for work purposes. Doing trips away, we do a few overnighters for work. Yeah.
And, hotels, they're great, but
it sounds like a good work expense by a rooftop tent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, back to business. How long have you been in the business?
Hey, I started my business in 2015.
Yeah, okay. So 8 years, 9 years?
I think it's 9 years. This will be the 9th year coming up next year.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. So you've been doing it less time than me, but it sounds like you've built a bigger business than me. So I'm a little bit jealous, and I'm hoping I'm going to learn some trade secrets from you.
Look, it's a lot about luck, and this is all I've done since I was 16.
Okay.
So I've just done grounds maintenance, parks and gardens.
So your experience in the industry is a lot longer than how long you've been in business.
Yeah, I think we're coming up to 94. I started. So what's that? So that's 20. Not sure if we're coming up to 29, 8 years or.
I was going to say it's pretty close to 30 years.
30, yeah, it'd be 30 years in 2024. Yeah, so 29 years.
Yeah, that's that is only 2 weeks away.
Yep.
Just saying, 2 weeks till 2024. So yeah, people will be going, oh, hang on a minute, it's already there. So that's 30 years in the industry, and approaching 9 years running your own business. So you came into it, I'm guessing, with a trade background.
Yep. So I've Parks and Gardens trade, and I'm a Cert 5 arborist.
So you do a bit of tree climbing?
No, I don't. I got I did arb early on in my career.
Okay,
a lot of EWP, tree trimming, and the formative sort of stuff around the city. And
so that's a lot of using the trucks with the I can't remember what they call those trucks, but
little
basically
platform, elevated work platform, Versa lifts and things like that. And got offered for Padstow TAFE to come to our work, and some of the guys that were doing already had the Cert 4 in Parks offered us to upgrade us to Cert 5. But
nice.
Never got into the climbing aspect of it.
Yeah.
And, mainly tree health and stuff like that, and your formative pruning and a lot of planting around the city streets and that sort of stuff.
Nice.
And moved through the arb side of it pretty quickly. It was good for a change, but
I worked with an arborist for only a couple of weeks back when I started my business. So winter, my jobs are a bit quiet. The arborist was like, I can give you a couple of weeks work. And it was interesting because some of his climbers were experienced and had some couple of incidents here and there.
Yep.
And one of his climbers was pretty fresh out there. And to watch a fresh climber doing their first climb, and what might take another climber 20 minutes, half an hour to do, he got up there for about 2.5 hours and didn't get a lot of work done. And then he had to come down because his nerves were fried.
Yep.
Now, I'm naturally, human nature, I have a healthy respect for gravity. I'm okay with being in airplanes, but when you're up a tree and the ground is below you, what do they say?
On the council street after street, 50 trees in a street, sort of uplift them, clear the street lights and clear the deadwood out, 50 trees a day type thing. That's what we were doing. We were doing that sort of.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you got a lot of experience with tree work, but not the climbing side of it.
Yeah, I don't go out and openly do it at the moment.
Fair enough.
Insurance wise, we can't really do removals over 5 meters, and all work's got to be ground based and etc. etc. So I don't openly chase that work.
Yep, fair enough. So when you started your own business, you had that background, the Parks and Gardens and the arborist Cert 5, yeah. So what was your primary target when you started business?
Look, to be honest, I was working for another contractor. I was working for Marsupial Landscape Management. And
they're still around at the moment?
They're still around. Great company. Going through some business issues. Lost a few contracts. I'd only been there for not even 2 years. So I stuck my hand up and said, look, if you need to offer me a redundancy, I'm happy to walk away. And walked away with a great list of contacts. Walked away on the agreement that if I was to start my own business, that they would be more than happy to get me back as a subby. So
they're basically offering you a franchise almost, just giving you all the leads.
Look, so when I took the redundancy, it wasn't my intention to start the business.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty quiet time in the industry. So what do? You pick up a lawnmower and start mowing lawns.
Yeah.
My wife had just given birth, so there's no way I was sitting around having no income.
Yeah.
So picked up a lawnmower, took around a few leaflets. Things moved pretty quickly. Before I knew it, I was, getting booked out on day jobs and recurring day jobs, and things just, pretty much took off straight away.
That's the beauty of our industry, right? You find a customer and they want you back
Yeah.
to keep the lawn tidy, not just
Yeah.
to do it once.
That's it. Can I book you in again next week? Oh, yeah, sure. And before I knew it, I was fully booked out.
Yeah, nice.
Day jobs, recurring commercial work as well.
Yeah, okay. And that commercial work makes a massive difference, doesn't it?
It does. It's having the comfort that you've got that recurring income. It allows you to plan and invest in your equipment yourself, and it's just.
And a lot of commercial jobs, you can smooth the income right throughout the whole year rather than being really heavily tiered towards summer.
That's it.
So it makes a big difference there, especially when you're paying employees.
Yeah.
So how long in before you put on your first employee, or did you do a helper or a subby or something like that before you actually did employment?
Still with us. He was an employee, basically. I paid his super and all that sort of stuff.
Yep, workers' comp, the whole lot.
Yep. So he worked. I think he worked with me for 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And then pretty quickly, I got another bloke in 5 days a week within the first year.
Yeah,
I had 2 guys.
So two guys, and most of the people I talk to, if they start out solo, when they put on an employee, they have a realization, a voice of thunder going, "You can't do this. How are you going to get through winter?"
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Look, you scratch through, and a month out from winter, 2 months out from winter, you start planning. You start holding back jobs. When people start ringing to say, "I want a garden mulched," I wouldn't say, "Oh, you can do it tomorrow." I'll start sort of, pushing that work. Oh, I can do that in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, and sort of start banking some jobs. And you do worry, but I don't remember my first winter ever sitting at home.
Yeah. So you managed to keep those 2 employees going through the winter.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the biggest fear that sort of pushes people to go, sorry, can't give you work through winter. Go back to working on your own, where you can keep on top of all of those jobs right the way through winter, and then try and find some new employees coming back into spring and summer.
That is the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you found any tricks? Like you mentioned putting jobs aside for winter. Have you found any other tricks that makes it easy to sort of keep on growing rather than going through that withdrawal phase?
Look, for me, it's been a lot about luck, and it's been about knowing people in the industry.
Yeah.
When I say luck, our biggest growth was by pure chance.
Yeah.
Will being one of the guys. We're just doing we do a run of stratas down in a suburb, just off the Southern Highlands, and we're working away, and a facilities manager drove past.
Okay.
Just so happened he was having a shit day with his contractor, Landscape Solutions, and had enough.
How about that?
Had enough,
and
decided to make a phone call to us. I had my number on the side of the ute.
Yeah.
Rang us and said, I like the way you were working with your offsider. You look like you had some nice equipment. Do you want to quote a few jobs for me? I had no idea who he was. I had no idea where he was from.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, mate, yeah. What do you got? I thought, he's just maybe had another couple of blocks of flats. No, he worked for a major aged care group. So we quoted one big job not far. Within a month, that job went to 3.
Yeah.
Within probably 6 months, that job went to 4 or 5 locations.
Yeah.
And it just snowballed. They just had enough of a contractor. Just had enough of their, unreliability and.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've
awesome.
Off that one chance, we've grown to eight facilities.
Yeah. So a lot of people that listen to my podcast, they'll be used to quoting $50 jobs, $150 jobs, and those jobs are based on 20 services a year roughly.
Yep.
When you quote a aged care facility like that, you're not really looking at what it costs per cut, so to speak. I mean, you might, but you're more looking at, okay, I want to probably, instead of 20 cuts a year, you're probably up around 30 cuts a year.
Yep.
And you're going to quote them for a year rather than each service.
Yeah, that's right.
So I know if I look at a residential job these days, I'm like, okay, I might have done a $1,000 a year residential job when I started. Nowadays, it's like, okay, minimum of $2,000 a year, and I'd rather chase the jobs that are closer to $4,000 or $5,000 a year for a residential job. And if you don't know how to do the maths as to what that's worth for a 20 cuts per year job, then get your calculator out. But moving on from that, when you go to do a facility, a strata, a aged care facility, or any large commercial premises, then you're going, okay, how many days a week do I need to have an employee on that site?
Yeah.
So I'm speaking about my own experience here, but I need to stop talking and hear what's your thoughts about how that works for you. Obviously, you're agreeing with me, but how's that worked?
Well, lucky for me, I had a lot of experience with previous contractors doing tenders. So I've developed my own little tender model, which you walk through an aged care and you get lawn maintenance, you've got your blowing and cleaning driveways and hard stands, you've got your garden bed maintenance. So I punch it all in. Some of them want an all-inclusive contract like mulching, tree pruning. So you've got to have confidence in yourself, and there is a certain element of risk. If I allow 100 cubes of mulch, it might need 150.
Yeah.
But the next job you might allow 100 and only use 70. So you got your highs and your peaks and your troughs, but you just got to break it down.
I find with large commercial contracts, it's pretty easy to get the free mulch from an arborist that's working in the area put on site, and you can literally filter through that free mulch and pick the really good stuff for the front gardens and put the not so good stuff up the out of site stuff. Right. So it can make, if you're getting, say, 3 truckloads of what would we call it? Just rubbish mulch, whole tree,
recycled wood chip.
It's got a bit of leaf in there. It's probably got a couple of palm fronds in there.
Palm fronds stuffed up in the middle of it.
They're good at hiding that sort of stuff when you ask for a free load.
Some bloke's can of Coke chucked in the middle of it. And...
Yep. Yeah. But it can be more economical when you're doing a large job like that to consider doing that. Sometimes you might go, okay, I really need to order in a couple of truckloads, like say 100 cubes or whatever it is of the highest quality mulch.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've formulated a document you've used for putting tenders in there. Have you listened to the lawn care skull sessions with Ben and BJ at all?
Yeah, I occasionally have listened.
So I'm sure you would have sought out their episode where they talked about doing quotes for villages.
Yep.
Yeah, so would you say that the documents they've talked about putting together sound similar to what you do?
Very similar, yep.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I pretty much stole these documents from a previous contractor as well, recreated. As soon as I left,
it's probably a good way to do it overall. It's good to look at what other people do and modify it to improve it or to tailor it to your own needs.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I know I've had similar. I've actually had a commercial contract where they put a contract document to me. So it was a full drafted by a solicitor. And I've just, I've got a copy of that contract, obviously. So when I do a commercial quote for somebody and they're dragging their heels with putting a contract together, I'm like, here, sign this.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, where'd that come from? And, it's tailored to them, obviously, but it's got all of that legal talk in it that spells out how the payments need to happen and who gets to choose if the contract's going to stop for some reason or another.
That's it.
And, the obvious things, what's included in the contract is, how much mowing, how often are you going to be there, how long are you going to be there, all those sorts of things. If you listen to old episodes of the podcast, check out the recent episodes with Dan, the mowing mentor, and Prez Madley with the corporate secrets that they won't tell you. Or search for my accountants Adrian and Charles from Grow Up Group to round out the great advice. And they will all help you when you contact them. Look up Dan, the mowing mentor on Instagram, Prez Madley by email, thinktankcoaching@outlook.com, or you can book an appointment with my accountants on 0249 773363. It sounds like you've had very similar experience to Ben and BJ in terms of putting documents together like that, and I've had a similar experience as well. So awesome. I have actually been meaning to get Steve Ween on the podcast because he's a bit of a expert in putting documents together.
Yeah, that's it.
That's one of those episodes I really need to do. Yeah, okay, so let's try and keep a historical view of your business so that we get a feel for how things changed over the years. So 8 years you've been in business.
Yep.
And you had fairly decent growth in the first 12 months. So how long was it in before you got contacted by this facilities manager?
2017.
Yeah, okay.
So before that, I had a portfolio of stratas and a little bit of I did a bit of council work up in Hornsby Council.
Oh yeah, nice.
I also had some just day jobs, big day jobs where people just wanted you for a day or fortnight.
Yeah.
And I would break that down to 2 blokes, half a day. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I can understand why you do that, but I really like jobs where I can have an employee in one place for the whole day because you don't have to worry about paying them to travel between jobs. There's
that's right.
Almost zero unbillable hours associated with a job like that. So yeah, you've done this. This is what you're doing before you got contacted by that first facilities manager, and then once they've come on board, have you focused solely on what they're bringing in? As you said, you got 8 facilities now.
Yeah, we've got 8 for this aged care group.
Yeah.
So which range from day jobs. So we've got one job up in North Richmond that takes 8 guys one day. So I just get my whole crew up there on a Thursday.
Yep.
Smash out this village.
That's a big village.
It's a big village, 192 units.
Yeah.
Others are so typically the group they'll have a lifestyle village and a nursing home next to each other.
Of course.
So typically these villages are 3 guys one day.
There's a village just up the road from me, and people who know Cooranbong will know that that's heavily associated with Seventh-day Adventists. So the village is owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. It's a retirement village with a nursing home.
Yep.
And next door to that is the cemetery. So it's kind of like a conveyor belt. You start in the lifestyle side of things, and then you go in through the high care, and then you go into the lower care.
Yeah, that's it. That's when your family forgets about you and walks away.
I looked after that cemetery for a few years.
I did a cemetery.
Yeah.
During COVID, typically most of the cemeteries are done by the convicts. And during COVID, they weren't available. They were not allowed to get out. So we got asked to take on a cemetery for a year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad gig.
Yeah. Do you have any fun experiences from the cemetery?
we know a few collapsed graves.
Yeah.
That just collapsed into nowhere. No, not really. Not really. No ghosts.
Yeah, no, I had the ground cracking up, so from the drought, not from the ghosts trying to escape. That was pretty classic, seeing the ground crack literally through the middle of the cemetery. And the other one that was a real standout was when it was really wet, and an old lady went to visit her husband's grave and literally sunk down to her knees in the mud.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a somber experience, but it's also it gets you really used to the idea of being around death and just going, you know what, this is just another part of life.
Yeah, that's
Human
right.
nature.
Yeah.
You do live, you do die. It's
That's right.
it's
You've got to be
more
buried
certain.
somewhere.
It's more certain than taxes.
Mhm.
In our line of work, you might minimise your taxes, but you can't minimise that end stop. So yeah, I actually got a lot of value from doing the cemetery just from that exposure to constantly seeing families visit, and because I'm in that community, I know most of the people that are going through.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. But the reason I was bringing that up, the retirement village with the nursing home, they have a grounds maintenance staff on site, so they've never contracted it out, and they have, from memory, 2 or 3 people that are doing the lawns and the gardens, and they're there 5 days a week.
Yep.
And so I'm guessing that'd be a similar size site to what you're doing with 8 guys going in once.
Yep.
And doing the whole lot. So yeah, certainly it's a massive undertaking to go from one end to the other. And
it is.
Did you say fortnightly?
No, this one's weekly.
It's weekly. Okay, yeah, I was going to say fortnightly. That the residents in a retirement village, they would get a little bit antsy with fortnightly mowing.
That's right. Well, this one is more your villas. Some of the others are more your sort of your blocks of flats and 3-story complexes and not much.
So this
grass.
one, they've all got their own little front yard.
They've all got
their own little garden.
Their own little front yard. 15 square meters and a little backyard.
Yeah.
And then we've got another one of the villages is so that is 5 hectares, so 50,000 square meters of just open space mowing.
Wow. Yep, that's a decent amount of mowing.
Yep.
So do you quote places like that by working out the square meterage then?
No, I don't. No. For that size property, I don't work out a quote based on square meter. I basically go off gut feel because, a high detail place is different to a golf course.
Yeah, for sure.
So when I was doing tendering, we used to have 3 categories in our spreadsheet. So anything under 5,000 square meters, we would run our eyeballs over it.
Yep.
Once you're getting up to over 20,000 square meters, you might be able to run a formula over it.
Yeah.
But some risk. So I was left in a situation with a couple of contractors that I was expected to price things solely from the office. You can't do that. You've got to get out.
Yep.
You've got to get out and eyeball it and, go off gut feeling. And
I've found it best from my experience doing quotes that size to ask them for a scope of work.
Yeah.
And then double check their scope of work. Yep. And a job I've just quoted, I actually said, have you got a scope of work? They had no idea. They didn't even know what the words mean.
So our villages, they were asking us to come back with a proposal.
Yeah.
And I worried that if you're going out to quote, everyone needs to quote off the same spec.
Yep.
You can't have one contractor coming in and saying, "Yeah, we're going to do the lawns, once a week. We're going to do your hedges once a month." Yeah. And another contractor coming in and saying, "Oh, we'll do it fortnightly. Your lawns fortnightly. Then we'll do your hedges once every second month." Everyone's got to quote off the same thing. So I did the first 3 that way where we went and pitched. We went and said we'll go and do X, Y, and Z. We'll include fertilising. We'll include a lawn renovation service once a year.
Yep.
And then there's a couple that we quoted for another group which we didn't get. And I went back to them and said, "Is everyone quoting off the same task?" The same step? No. Everyone was coming back with their own proposal, and they're going. Obviously, they're going for the cheapest one. Not really understanding the nuts and bolts of it, but they're only getting their lawns cut once a fortnight, whereas our proposal was once a week, or it was 30 cuts instead of 26.
Yeah. And
So
that's what I've done with the quote I've just been doing, is going, okay, you don't understand what it requires. I'm telling you what I'm going to quote you on, and this is the conversation was the quality of work that's been done on this site at the moment is not up to scratch. You want it up to comparable with work that I currently do. So this is what I'm recommending for you. And that way, they may take a cheaper quote, but if they do take a cheaper quote and then they come back and go, oh, that's not up to scratch, well, they were warned.
Village hasn't improved. Why hasn't it improved?
Yeah.
Because you're paying the same price, but you've gone back in a service level.
Yeah. That's it. So that's why I sat down with them and I said, look, this is the scope of work.
Yep.
This is what I expect for this site. And that's what I'm quoting on. So yeah, it's a challenging one, because particularly if you're given the job of putting the proposal together or the scope of work together, that every chance they may look at that and go, oh yeah, we think we can get it done cheaper.
Yeah.
Or why do we need 8 people there for a whole day, a week?
That's right. The good thing is most of these villages and nursing homes have transitioned from having their own staff to realising that that's not working, that's not cost effective. So that's what's led them to go out to contract.
That's an interesting topic that's worth hours and hours of discussion just on its own. But take that village I've mentioned that's near me, 3 people 5 days a week on site doing the work all of the time. They are staff.
Wages there, that's 180K of wages. And just basic costs.
I'm pretty sure one of them was a horticulturist, so that's 80,000 for him.
That's
plus the other 2, which would have been less training. But yeah, I would say you're right. At least 180, maybe 220 or somewhere up around there in wages. And then they were providing all of the equipment. So 2 or 3 walker mowers and a bunch of other equipment. Tractors and buggies and all the gear.
Depreciate those, so soon you're up to $250,000. And you got a lot of headaches of managing staff and sick days and breakdowns, and much easier just to put it out to tender.
Well, the point I'm more interested in there is if you go to that village and you say you've got 3 staff 5 days a week, I'm going to put 3 staff here, or I'm going to put 8 staff here, and basically the same number of hours. And the way I've been looking at it recently is going, okay, if I'm employing somebody or they're employing somebody, I don't expect there to be a net benefit in the quality of work or the amount of hours that they need to do. So I expect employees to work at a fairly set rate. They're going to cover a set amount, whether it's their employee or my employee. If you're talking the greater industry, a lot of guys are looking at a job like this going, oh, I know, because I'm the business owner, I could go in there and I could knock over the same amount of work that 3 guys can knock over. But when you put an employee on the job, you can't.
No. And
I've reached that stage, at the tender age of, similar to you, where I don't want to work 3 times as hard as one employee.
No, I'm at the point now where I look at some of the jobs that my staff do and I think, I could never do that. I could never be that quick and efficient and have the same quality. So initially I was, sometimes you're a bit doubtful, like, why did it take him 3 hours to do that? And then more often than not now, I'm like, going, wow, I can't do that.
Yeah. I've had that realization quite a few times where I've had, let's face it, a lot of people in our industry will go through this stage of calling them an offsider or a helper instead of a employee. And I've looked at an offsider or a helper and gone, man, they could work faster.
Mm.
And then the realization that, actually, they're putting in a decent effort and they're doing a pretty decent quality job too. So I should go a bit easier on them, and I shouldn't expect them to work as if they own the business either.
No, that's right. Unless they're on some sort of bonus, they're never going to work or have as much invested as the business owner.
Yeah.
But these days you've got to have some sort of incentive. Yep. Otherwise, you're you just get guys that just turn up and just tick over the numbers, and
you
end up losing jobs. And
I've made a mistake with incentive there. Tell me how you do it, because I'm more interested, because you're obviously doing something right here. What I've done wrong is I've gone, you know what, if you work hard and you prove that you're worth the money, you can work unsupervised and you can do all of the work I'm expecting you to do. I'll put you up to $35 an hour or whatever it might be, right? And $35 an hour at the moment is actually a reasonable wage for an employee in our industry. They might start lower than that. They might get up a little bit higher than that, but that's, just pull that number out there. If I give them that expectation, they jump through hoops to get that pay rate. And then once they get that pay rate, they slack off.
Yeah.
So what I've done now is I've said, you know what? The award is this, level 1 through to level 5.
Yep.
You're on probation for the first 3 months, so you're even lower than a level 1. And you can be put up and you can be put down. If you're working to a level 5, you can get level 5. But if you don't perform at level 5, you can get paid level 1. And that's just because, simply speaking, like some days you might be a supervisor and some days you're not supervising anyone, or some days you may be performing really poorly and don't expect to get paid really well. If we have to have that conversation that you're not performing, there's a problem. But that's why there's different levels there.
That's it.
So I find, for me, that's the conclusion I've come to at the moment. Right or wrong, I'm not going to say I'm great at this. I should be worshipping you in terms of how much you've done. You've got the experience of having employees successfully, so I'm really curious as to how you deal with that.
Well, look, I don't have I don't give them apart from a great wage, I don't have a monetary bonus. I give out nice brand new utes. All our utes are great quality utes, good equipment, and I don't take on shit jobs. I'm not flogging the guys on 40-degree days to get the job done. I just think I offer a great job. Great job, great guys, early finish Friday. Yeah, nice equipment.
So you work Monday to Friday, no weekends?
Monday to Friday. Yep. We don't do a lot of overtime on Saturdays. We're doing December. We are. We're working every Saturday in December.
Yep.
But through the peak, there might be the odd Saturday.
Yeah. But for the most part, it's Monday to Friday.
Yeah. Get in early. If it's going to be a hot day, get in early, go home early. I'm not sitting on the timesheet going, you knocked off at 2:00. I'm only paying you to 2:00. They're getting paid their full 8 hours or 7.6 hours. Get the job done. Get the place looking nice. We don't get complaints. So if we did start getting complaints, I'd have to start riding the guys. But I've got the way I've set my business up. I've got a supervisor that looks after all the aged care stuff.
Yep.
That's his portfolio. He's on the tools.
Yeah.
But his role is to do the work, quality manage, and talk to the client. But he's the day-to-day contact for that portfolio of clients.
Yeah.
I've got the same. We do a bunch of hospitals. I've got the same for the hospitals. Manage your work. If you guys think you can finish early on a Friday and everything's up to standard, finish at lunchtime. Go home. Yeah. But if that job's not up to standard, there's questions are going to be asked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. So I've found doing commercial work, you can be on the tools at 7 a.m. and sometimes at 6 a.m. or earlier.
Yeah.
So that means for me and my employees, that's 7 a.m. start, finish before 3.
Yep.
And I pay them for their lunch break. So I know it's not a requirement, but it's like, you know what, you're doing a physical job, you need to have a paid break, and you're going to get an hour's worth of breaks throughout the day. You can take it in 2 half-hour breaks. That's fine by me. You're getting paid for them. So that way, I like you. I make sure that I'm not riding them to work hard when they're physically exhausted.
Yeah,
and build it in. But yeah, like I said, I'm still learning, trying to hoping I'm going to get more nuggets of gold from you. Because this has to be the single biggest issue for our industry is getting over that hurdle of A, having enough work to put on employees and keep them working, and B, retaining staff that are good quality staff.
Yeah, staff retention it's probably our biggest problem. I lost a great guy that had great plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was gonna be my overall supervisor, and I was gonna ease back off the tools a bit more, and then we started working towards that way, and then he just he up and said, "Look, I want to try something different." What can you say? Left on great terms.
Yeah.
I talk to him often. He hates his new job, by the way. He has come back and done a bit of overtime work for us on weekends. But I was gutted. I was for all the guys that have come and gone in the past.
Yeah,
he's the one that got me emotional. I thought, geez, we're both on the same path.
Yeah,
both had the plan moving forward, and then want to go.
It's challenging, isn't it? Because finding good employees is hard to start with.
Yeah.
And I think in any career, somebody's likely to change career paths once or twice in their adult journey, going from 18 years of age, leaving school, through to 70 years of age when you're allowed to start thinking about retirement. So in our industry, people are going to burn out.
Yeah.
And if they're not motivated to be in the industry in the first place, then they're probably more likely to burn out because they're only doing it to fill a gap.
Yeah.
Or
I don't think it can be just a job. This works too hard to be just a job. You've got to have some interest in doing what you do, some love of outdoors or love of the open spaces, and it just can't be just a ticking over. Otherwise, you're just going to hate it. You're just going to burn out.
Yep, definitely. And I think even business owners will run through that issue, not just employees.
Mm.
I think a lot of people who come into this industry last less than one season, or they make it through one season, and then when winter comes around, pack up and go and get a real job.
Yeah, especially when you have heavy rain, every time you go out, you see a new person. You think, oh, I've seen them before. You never see them again. Just,
It's certainly the way, isn't it? And I think that's less true when you're talking large premises like you're doing or what I'm doing. There's probably less turnover in businesses your size than people who are going out there doing $50 mows and $70 mows.
Yep.
But a lot of people that start a business will start at that $50 to $70 price. And they might build up a reasonably successful business in 12 months or in one season, which is actually about 7 months.
Mm.
But then at the end of that 7 months, what do?
Yeah.
And
how many of those customers do you retain the next season?
Yeah. Yep. So, there is a fairly high failure rate because of that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, in the last 8 years, you've obviously, we'll keep going around this cycle because I'm trying to get the full picture of your history. You've built it from yourself through to your first 2 employees to building up a business where you've got 8 large facilities that you look after. How much work outside of those facilities do you do do you do other work to fill in the gaps, or do you do other work that is significant as well?
We've got the 8 facilities. We do 5 of our local hospitals. So that's Camden, Campbelltown, Bowral, Fairfield, Liverpool Hospital.
Bowral's Southern Highlands, right?
Yeah, Bowral's down Southern Highlands, yep.
And you're down Southern Highlands at the moment,
So Bowral's probably an hour. It's 55 minutes from base, from Camden.
Yeah, okay.
So our guys take utes home and start and finish on site. We do 14 transgrid depots, switch yards, all the power lines and all that sort of crap, which is what I'm working on today.
Okay.
We do a bit of work for Hornsby Council, We do some other facilities that we do commercial work. You know,
Do you have any special certification to do the transgrid work?
So no, you've got to do a 1 day course.
Okay,
You've got to be security checked.
Yeah, okay.
Go through all these security checks, and then you're allowed in.
So it's pretty simple then.
500 kilowatt power stations, and so all you basically need is a 4-hour course.
Yeah.
Bunch of security checks, and that's it.
Did you see a post a couple of weeks ago on LMCA about somebody doing some work, doing a hedge trim that was really close to an overhead power line that was just connecting to a house?
Yeah,
so
there's a domestic connection.
And the amount of people that jumped on that is like, you can't do that unless you've done the training. And even then, it was that close to the hedge that it was, I think the actual limit on what you can do if you've done the training is between 3 meters and half a meter. And that looked like it was less than half a meter.
Yeah, so I did do this sort of work when I was an arborist. I did the line clearance for a period of time, and we were allowed to get 500 mil from bare lines, bare 240. And then it goes up at, your 11 kV might be 2 meters, your 32 kV might be 3 meters, and goes up. But basically, you can get within 500 mil.
Yep.
So that's your tool. So the branch you're cutting can be touching the lines. You're fully insulated.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
But your tool has got to be at least 500 away.
Yeah, but that's a covered line. You can get a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And no one's governing it. It's any homeowner can, knock down a tree that's growing near their service wire.
Yes. So the requirement to do that is actually about just making sure you know what is safe and what's not safe, so that you do look after yourself and your staff.
Yep.
But like you say, being ungoverned and being an ungoverned industry that we're in, a lot of people are just going to do that work and be none the wiser.
Yeah.
Until somebody ends up on the news because they did something stupid.
It would be very, very hard. Any of these switch yards.
Yes.
It'd be very hard to do yourself any damage. You just cannot, unless you're climbing the towers and things like that. You physically.
I was going to say. Most of what you're doing is at ground level and away from any power.
It's it. Like, I have to admit, before I did the course, you would drive past the substation with all these wires, and you think, holy shit, what's going on inside there?
Yeah,
It is harmless. It is nothing. You can walk around and do whatever you want inside there.
Harmless until a possum climbs in the middle and connects the dots.
Or bat hanging off the wires.
I have, in my area, I know that there's been several instances where the power's gone out for a whole street because of a possum.
But this organisation have got high trust.
Yeah.
Our access gives us full access to. I could switch off all of Goulburn.
Yeah, wow.
With one switch.
Yep. Wow.
If I wanted to. Yeah, that's how much access.
Yeah.
We have to the switch yards. Yeah,
so they do trust that you are there, being honest and doing the right thing.
They trust. Yep. I mean, you're under camera. The moment you walk in, you're under camera. But if you are going to sabotage something, by the time you switch something off and done a runner, they'd never catch you. But that's the level of access.
Yeah.
You'd have.
But let's face it, a business that's doing that service is not really going to be interested in sabotaging and doing a runner.
No, that's right. You get to, well, it all goes through. I've lost the organisation, but the security checks go through. Yep. It might be ASIO or something like that, or whoever they are.
Okay,
that level
well,
of,
so that's higher level than police check.
Yeah, it's high. It's high. Yep. And
fair enough.
You can do the course in 6 hours, but then it takes you another month to get your security access sorted out. So they do checks. We haven't had anyone knocked back yet, but
I probably wouldn't pass that security check. No, I'm an illegal alien, so they would look at me and they go, "Who's this? Where's he come from?" Oh, all good. Yeah, that's interesting. So, at this point in time, you've built up a business that is based on you trusting, I think you mentioned 11 staff is?
Got 8 staff in
Eight
a
staff.
subby that does a couple of days a week with us.
I've spoken to a couple of people that have got around 11 staff. Sorry, so my mistake there. Yeah, so you've got 8 staff on, and did you say one subby or?
You've got a subby that does a decent amount of work for us.
Yeah,
recurring
nice.
sort of stuff.
Yeah, awesome. So, what does that look like for you managing 8 staff? Because I know you've mentioned you had one person who was your overall supervisor and quality control.
Yep.
But do you send out, I guess it depends on the day, but do you send them out in groups of 2 sometimes, or is it always all together?
Running, at the moment, we've got generally 3 crews. So, typically today I've got a crew that we're doing one crew's doing some villages, another crew was on the hospitals, and then another crew was on the as well as myself doing the transgrid power substations.
Yeah.
So generally 3 crews, and then one day we all come together and do a village, do our biggest village, and sort of knock that out together.
Nice. So you have each staff member has their own ute, or do you have like 4 utes? And
look, out of 8 guys, I've got 6 vehicles.
6 vehicles.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I do give out too many utes, and I could I could save some dollars and pull a couple of those utes back, because often you stuff up and you've got 3 utes at one job, and I think, Jesus Christ, I've had 3 guys turn up here and I've got 3 utes.
Yeah.
And I start to think, how can I get around this?
Yeah.
And I think, no, this particular job, I need those 3 guys to do this job. I can't, they can't. And the guys are good if they're heading down to Bowral and they don't need 2 vehicles. They'll jump in the carpool. So they are pretty good like that. And when we go to North Richmond, they will carpool and leave the truck behind if they don't need the truck, or we'll leave a ute behind.
Are they all single cab utes, or you got dual cabs so you can get 4 or 5?
2 dual cabs.
Yep.
2 dual cabs, 3 single cabs in a truck.
So occasionally you'll tell them to get all hot and sweaty, 5 people in the ute.
Yeah, they love it.
It's
a good trip home in the afternoon.
I can imagine the Lynx Africa would be very heavy. Maybe Lynx needs to sponsor the podcast.
Right.
Nah. That would be a little bit cozy, I guess, but it's sensible. Like you say, have 2 utes that you can put more than 2 people in to make it easier to carpool when you get the opportunity to.
It's it.
Yeah, okay. Look, is there any specific things that you would like to touch on in this interview that are issues that you think are worthwhile sharing with other people, or interesting stories?
Oh, mate, I'm pretty, like I said to you, I'm a pretty boring person. I'm not a massive talker. I'm not a salesman. I think if I was a salesman, I think my business would be probably triple what it is now.
Wow. But,
we don't advertise. I've partnered up with a great facilities company that are out chasing this work, and they just hand us, at the moment, the work. And
that's the way it makes it easy. Makes it easy for you to be able to make sure you're doing your end of keeping employees and getting the work.
I love the facilities work. I don't have to deal with. I deal with one client, not many.
Yeah, so, for sure.
The work we do at the hospitals, I personally don't deal with the manager at the hospital.
Yeah, for sure.
I deal with the facilities company, which it makes my life fantastic.
Yeah. And that facilities company, are they still required to do 3 quotes for each job? So you're not guaranteed to work?
They do. They tender for the work. They're tendering against companies like Skyline and Landscape Solutions and all that sort of mob.
Yeah.
So pricing's going to be pretty keen. You know, it's got to be economical. It's got to be ethical.
Yep.
We're not on $100 an hour.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic to talk about. So if you look at that figure, $100 an hour, and a lot of people will jump up and down and say you should be at $120 to $150 an hour. But if you change it, and if you've listened to any of my more recent episodes, you'll hear me talking about this quite a lot. But if you change the amount of hours you do on one site, that changes the amount you need to charge per hour to be cost effective, right? So I hear people charging as little as 50 plus GST for doing a job where they send 3 staff to one site for the whole day.
Yeah.
So each staff members get charged out at 50 plus GST.
You've got to remember that $100 an hour comes from average sole trader out in the street.
Yeah.
He's paying himself business owners' rates.
Yep.
I'm not paying business owners' rates. I'm paying skilled groundsman rates.
Yep.
So, you know, we don't have jobs at $50 an hour, but we don't have jobs at $100 an hour. But somewhere in between.
So what I find at the moment, if you're doing jobs where they're 1 hour jobs or 20-minute jobs, then you need to be charging your staff out at $150 an hour because of all the unbillable time in between jobs.
That's
and
right.
All of the added expenses for everything that goes wrong when you're doing small jobs. When you put your staff on one job for the day, and I heard you say something earlier, I'm going to ask you to confirm this, but they get paid for on-site time.
Yep.
So if you're sending them to Bowral, and I know you'd probably give them some travel allowance, but
yeah. So we do have an agreement with a facilities company. They'll pay travel one way.
Yep.
So the guys will only be on site for 7 hours.
Yeah.
Yet we're billing for 8 hours.
Yeah. Fair.
So we're lucky. We've got, you know, all our jobs are day jobs. We've got a 98% utilisation rate. We don't have lost hours. That's what enables us to bring our rate down. You know, I listen to all these social media I'm making $150. I made $150 an hour today. Yeah, great, good on you. But, you know, it's not reality because they probably only had 4 hours of solid work for that day.
Well, let's talk about that because I know, like you're saying, your guys are on site for 7 hours a day or might be 8 hours a day sometimes, but that's ballpark what they're doing on site paid billable time.
Yep.
And when you do small jobs where you've got to go in between jobs, I know if they're 1 hour jobs, you probably get 5, maybe 6 jobs done in a day, or you're doing a 12-hour day to get 8 or 9 jobs done.
Yep.
So, you literally will have to do 12-hour day in order to get 8 hours work done. Whereas for you, your employees turn up at 7 in the morning, they're done by 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep.
And it's worth just as much as somebody who's running around doing a 12-hour day where they're doing 40-minute jobs, 1 hour jobs, 20-minute jobs. So the hourly rate that you bill out is definitely going to be different because you don't need to bill out that high hourly rate, and it's cost effective for you to do it that way. It's how do I say this? You literally can't charge those companies $150 an hour.
That's
you
right.
Won't get the job.
To be honest, if you rocked up with and these facilities companies, they're not idiots. They know how to break the quote down and work out what they're paying. You can give them a lump sum price. They know how to break it down and work out what they're paying per hour. They'd laugh you off the street if it came out to $100 an hour. They just don't accept it.
Yeah.
No.
So the reality is, if you look at what an employee needs to make in a day, you're looking at what they need to make in a year.
Yep.
And you go, okay, I need to make enough money to pay my employee.
That's it.
And I need to make enough money to pay my insurances and
Yep.
and to replace my equipment, replace
Yep.
those utes that are fancy.
Yep.
And once all the expenses are done, wages and all of your overhead expenses, you need some profit.
Yep. It's got to be worthwhile. You need to make some money.
So if you work out what it costs you for your employees to be in one place for a day, and then you add 20 to 30%, then you're on the money for our industry.
Yep.
Does that sound pretty much spot on?
Pretty much. Like whatever I'm doing, it must be something good. I've never never had a return on sale less than 25%.
Yeah.
So, it's for every dollar invested, I've made 25 cents. That's fantastic.
That is.
Now, I've come from companies that are making 10 and happy with 10% return on sales.
Well, I think that's fair though. If you're talking Skyline or you're talking anything up in size, so you go up to Apple and Google and all those sorts of companies, if they could do 10% profit,
they're cheering.
That is extremely good.
That's yeah. And I know I've worked at Landscape Solutions. I've worked at Marsupial. They're happy. They're happy with 10%. Yeah, that's a successful year.
But that you're talking a much larger company than you or I are trying to aim for.
You're talking 10% over, a $30 or $40 million company. Well, Landscape Solutions will be well over the $150 million turnover. Yeah, that's $15 million. That's
Well, let's talk about it from another perspective, right? If you work solo, you might need to turn over $100,000 a year.
Yep.
To have a $70,000 a year lifestyle.
Yep.
That's 30%, right?
Yep.
And if you are solo, you can probably turn over 120 to 200,000.
Yep.
And you're 30% profit on that, and you're going to include your own wages and all these sorts of things because you're solo. You're probably okay. It's a reasonable lifestyle business. The moment you put on an employee, and I'm just saying one employee, every hour that employee does, you're not making much money. Right? So where you're solo, you make $70,000 out of that $100,000. If the employee did $100,000 worth of work, and no, they're not going to do the same amount of work as you. But if they did $100,000 worth of work, you get $25,000.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. And I'm saying between $15,000 and $30,000 is standard for our industry. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that don't succeed and they're probably not making profit. I've been there. I've run at a loss when I've had my first employee and you're, why am I doing this?
What's going wrong?
It happens. Yeah, it's stupid. But, you know, how do you learn? You make mistakes.
Yep.
The point I'm going to make here is if you go from being solo, you can have easily $70,000 in your pocket, lifestyle business, and you can potentially have $150,000 in your pocket, lifestyle business. You're going to be working pretty hard for that 150.
Yeah.
And the 70 is going to be fairly easy for you to achieve. But in order for you to achieve the same amount of money in your pocket with employees, you are going to need, and based on your numbers, you're going to need 3 employees to hit 75 grand in your pocket.
Yeah.
And with 3 employees, you're probably going to be pretty stressed because you're going to be pretty busy trying to keep those 3 employees doing what they need to do to get 75 grand.
Yeah, you're right.
So in order for you to go from solo to a size business that is respectable, where you can go, okay, you know what, and say I want 150 grand, 6 employees.
Yep.
And, you know, you keep on applying this up the ranks, and like we said, you're going to go from that 30% down to that 10% or less than 10%. So if you're aiming for $1 million business, you get $100,000 profit. So somewhere in the middle, you go, well, what's the perfect size business to run? What do I do so that I'm happy?
What is the perfect size?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the point I'm trying to make at the moment is you can choose to be in the lifestyle size, or you can choose to be an entrepreneur, just keep on building that business. But if you're aiming for competing with Green Options, Landscape Solutions, any of Marsupial, any of those companies, what do you say they're up to? A $20 million business or something like that?
Look, I would guess that Landscape Solutions would well over the 100 million.
Yeah.
Marsupial, when I left, were probably around the 30 million.
So at 30 million, that's going to give them, what's 10% of that? 3 million?
Yep.
So they're working pretty hard for their 3 million, and they deserve it,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And they might actually have that 3 million getting split between several directors, I'm guessing.
That's right, yeah. But the Marsupial's got one owner that has a massive share, and then another owner's got a tiny bit.
So I've got respect for those people who do that. And I've been looking at trying to get interviews with a couple of people that are in that size.
Yep.
And I think it would be really interesting to look at, to actually get from them what they do and why they do it. Let's take a break while I tell you about the right standers. I've been running the ZK61 and the Stander i42, and these machines are built and spec'd with 100% heavy-duty commercial components. This saves your team time and money, season after season. So, welcome back, Mick. We had a short interim there with a little bit of a technical issue, and wanted to finish up the episode with you talking about a few different things. But the way I run my episode interviews, I like to look at what you have done, where you want to go from here, what do you want to get out of your business and your work, and what do you want to do different from here on? Is that too many questions at once?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we've already covered what you currently do.
Yep.
Where do you think you want to go from here in terms of growing the business or changing the way you do things?
Yep.
And what do you want to get out of it by doing that?
Yeah, well, I do have some plans to grow the business. Not dramatically. I'm quite happy with the size of the business at the moment, but I think to be sustainable, probably looking at maybe putting on another two crews.
Yeah.
And I did have some grand plans previously to employ a supervisor, but did a lot of hard work. But unfortunately, the gentleman all of a sudden left the business, and that is my next plan for early next year is to move towards appointing a supervisor to look after the crews, and hopefully that'll allow me to step more into a sales and an overall business approach.
Do you have an employee in mind that could become a supervisor?
Not currently with us, no.
So you'll be employing then?
I would be looking to employ someone. I think the best approach is to bring in someone new.
Yeah.
Someone that's going to bring new ideas and a new set of skills that we don't have in the business at the moment.
Yeah.
I want to sort of, I've been planning for a while to move into a commercial premises. I've been operating this business from my home for the last 8 years, and we've outgrown it.
Yeah.
It's working well, but we just don't have the space. I need something more convenient for the guys to drop in and pick up and maintain their tools and.
So you made mention you've got 6 vehicles.
We've got 6 vehicles. We've got
8 guys, and that must mean you've got more than just a carport on the side of the house to park.
Yeah, I built a 10 by 6 garage 3 years ago, which I thought was adequate at the time, but we pretty quickly outgrew that.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of space. Well, I live on just over an acre, so I've got some space around, but we tend to not like having too many trailers and stuff parked around.
Fair enough.
The guys like to swing past at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning to pick up stuff, which is not bad, but I've got
you're awake
and all that sort of stuff. So
you're awake at that time of day, but the family might not be.
Yeah, that's it. But no complaints so far from the wife. She's all for it. But I would like something a little bit bigger and some office space and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's very fair. And just give you a little bit of separation from work and home.
Yeah, that is has been an issue in the past. Knowing when's home time and when's business time. You've got to make that definitive time of an evening to step away, whether it's 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or what do you want to do? If you want to do, I think you've got to have that time where you say no more work.
Yeah.
Even if it's just sitting on the iPad, plugging away, you've really got to sort of stop and say no more. Now's family time, or what's the family want to do? They don't want to watch me on the iPad all night, so.
Yeah, that's fair. I get that at my place. I have that constant struggle when I'm at home, sitting in front of the computer. Now, when I'm in my dungeon, people leave me alone because they're a little bit scared of the dungeon. But
they know that's your space.
But even this morning, I had my son just open the dungeon door, and I'm like, "What are you doing? I'm recording here."
It's my space.
But they just treat it like you're off work and you're available to talk when it's like, actually, see this thing in front of me? This is work.
I hate sharing a space too. I hate sharing an office. I want my own space, just to
That's hard.
have my paperwork on the desk how I want it, if I want it.
Yep, that's exactly right. And, I've got piles of paperwork sitting beside me here waiting to be sorted out. Yeah, that can be challenging. So you're looking at a storage shed or like an industrial unit type complex?
Yeah, I did have a couple of non-starts last year, but unfortunately I wasn't able to store fuel at the location. It was a great storage facility that I was all set up to go ahead with, and they said no, you can't actually store unleaded here.
Yeah,
DA. So, but I think a small factory and little office would be ideal for us at the moment.
Yeah. In my area, they literally have like your storage units, which are exactly that. They're meant for storing your artwork, your old computer that you're never going to use again, or your furniture, or your grandmother's furniture while you're waiting for the settlement to happen, all that sort of stuff. But then just up the road from there, they have industrial units, and the industrial units, some of them will have shops operating out of them. Some will have, a guy that's a fanatic with his cars, and he keeps his prestige historic car in the unit there so that his wife doesn't constantly tell him to get it out of the backyard or whatever, right? So that's what I picture in my mind is one of those industrial units that can be used for a multitude of different things.
That's right.
But it's interesting. You would think in most cases that those sort of industrial units would allow fuel to be kept, but guess not.
No.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I'm dying to see what you find as a solution there. It'll be, I guess, a game changer for some of aspects of the business.
Yeah, I think it'll be a big leap forward. I think it's our next big step is to separate what I've got at home from the business, and well, it also allowed me to sort of step into a bit of a different role, have try and get those sales up, which is I think it's what we need at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't advertise. I don't do cold calling at the moment. The work sort of comes to us.
Yeah.
And I just have in my mind, what can we do if we do some sales, do some cold calling, or I don't even subscribe to a tender listing at the moment, or tender notification service. So a lot of sort of stuff in the new year.
That's a really significant change to actually do that, to go from relying on word of mouth, I guess, is what you're essentially doing currently, to trying actively to grow the business, taking on those tender processes and the marketing. So it'd be interesting to see how that changes for you over the next 12 months.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So, look, wrapping up the end of the episode, I'd like to really just get a good idea of what that looks like for you. I think we've covered most bases in terms of those sorts of things. One of the things we were going to touch on was in terms of how you balance all of those things together. And it sounds like you've been balancing them pretty well.
Yeah,
but you've reached a point where you want to make those changes so that you can keep the balance.
There has been time. There was a time probably 2 years ago where I really had to change what I was doing. Complaints from the daughter and wife, and I wanted to be dad. Really, I wanted to have the time on Saturday morning to go watch netball and do all those sort of things with my daughter, and be able to drop off and pick up from school once or twice a week. Those sort of things were lacking a couple of years ago, or they were just a continual struggle.
Yep.
But I made that definitive step that they had to had to step back a little bit and put my trust in others.
Yeah.
I was probably at the point where maybe I didn't trust the team members. I had to look at every job every day. But, I just had to build that.
That is hard work to go from being a, reluctant to use the word micromanager, but you're managing everything that your employees do. So you don't have to trust them out of sight to going, okay, let's relinquish a little bit of control, give them the opportunity to prove themselves that they are good employees and that they don't need to be supervised at that level.
Yeah. There was times where we would be separated by, a 2-hour drive. If one crew was at the one end of our area and I was at the other end, there's a good 2 hours between us. If something goes wrong, it's like, oh, how do I deal with this? But, you've got to, in a way, you've got to let the problems happen to learn how to deal with them, which is what we did. We had a few problems here and there and, some guys were not doing the right thing and we sort of moved them out of business and got in the guys that actually want to do this sort of work and want to have ownership over a little portfolio of work.
Yeah.
It was a gradual improvement, but we got there.
Yeah. So one of the things I hear coming through in the way you talk about it being luck that you've done well, luck that you've got some of the contracts that you've got, luck that you've had good employees, but it sounds like there's a lot of hard work behind that, not just luck. And it also sounds like there's a massive filtering process going through, particularly with employees, to filter out those employees that didn't work so well, the ones that are like what would you say if you've got 8 employees currently? Have you gone through like 300 employees?
I reckon I've gone through another 8.
Yeah.
So in the last 4 or 5 years, gone through, I reckon, 8 employees.
So 16 in total, 8 were no good, 8 were good. That's that's really good.
It's not a bad average.
Because I can imagine if you look at the number of people that you employ versus the number of people that don't get through a like even a training period or a
probation
trial day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably a massive difference.
And you do get fed some crap by employees. And I've had situations where employees have rigged up their own referees.
Yeah.
And you've rung the referees and they're like, he's a great person. He's, brilliant time management and hard worker.
Yeah.
And you get them in and they don't even know how to change a whip head or refill a whip head. Things like that. And think, you've obviously rigged up this somehow, so you've gotten perfect references.
Yep. Get on the job and they can't do it.
They're shit.
Yeah.
And I'm of the opinion you can train almost anyone.
Yeah.
But you also get the personalities that are just so far off what the rest of the crew is, and you think, no, they're never going to blend in. They're never going to work with the other guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing. While you can train anyone, do you want to train anyone? Yeah. you want to get people that you can be fairly hands off with in terms of going, all right, you're going and working with Adam or you're going and working with Robert, and they will show you the ropes, and you know that new employee is not going to hurt themselves, kill themselves or somebody else, and that they already have a basic understanding of what the requirements are. Yeah, so that would be frustrating when you get those ones that clearly don't work out. Yeah, so I guess that the other aspect of that is not just with employees, but in terms of the sheer amount of work that you have at the moment, and it's very clear that is not luck. Like that, there's an element of luck there.
I do call it luck, but
but the thing I've heard time and time again there in listening to entrepreneurs is the way I should say it, listening to entrepreneurs on other podcasts, and the question comes up every time, how did you get to where you are? And invariably there is a mix of luck and hard work. You cannot get luck when you're sitting on the couch smoking bongs. Well, you might. That's a different kind of luck. So you've got to put yourself in that nor'easterly breeze to get picked up by the wind and blown in the right direction, right? Same as you got to put yourself out there as a business that is capable and competent in order to get those good jobs.
Yep, I do agree.
So, yeah, I guess the thing that I keep coming back to, and the reason why I try to interview people like you, is because I need to grow. I need to learn and improve from the position I am to being in a position where I can do what you do well. And I say that for me, but there's somewhere around 1,000 listeners here listening into your episode right now going, I'm just starting out, or I've been doing this for 5 years, 10 years, and I keep going back to being solo. And a lot of people are asking that question, do I want to be solo or do I want to end up like Mick? Like Mick's somebody to look up to. And it's true. So, yeah, I guess everybody wants to know, should I grow the business and put on employees, or should I pull back, be solo, and enjoy my lifestyle on my own without any of that stress?
Well, it comes down to, are you looking for an income or business? If you just want an income, have a job, you can remain as a sole trader and just plod along and treat it as a wage. But if you want a proper business that you can actually pass on, or it's actually worth something in the future, you've got to make steps to grow.
Yeah. So the difference being, if you are solo, you get that income, and that income after expenses can range from almost nothing, but typically $60,000 to $80,000 starting for somebody who's working solo, all the way up to probably $150,000 profit solo. If you're putting on employees and you get to, say, 3 employees, you're probably at that point with 3 employees where they're making a similar amount of profit after paying wages and expenses to what you can earn on your own.
Yep.
And I've heard other numbers suggest that you really need to aim for 10 employees, particularly, I think, if we talk profit margins, and this, I label a section of the podcast at the end, Tech Talk, where I really try and give people an insight into the size, the scope of a business. So if you're talking profit margin on your business across the board after paying wages and paying employees, then you go, okay, that gives people a really good insight into where you're at. So,
yeah, well, I've worked with some big contractors that are happy with 10% return on sales. That's 10 cents per every dollar invested. Yeah, to them that's a good year. My business does a bit better than that. We're minimum 20% for the last 4, 5, 6 years. We've returned 20%.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing quite well.
Yeah, well, I think solo guys, because the solo guys dominate our industry, I think they get around 30%, but not taking into account their own wage if they're running really lean. And then, as soon as you've got a handful of employees or 10 employees or somewhere around there, if you're doing more than 10%, you're doing pretty well.
You're doing that's right. That's right.
Really doing pretty well. So, I think we've done a pretty good job of giving people some great insight into how big your business is, what sort of vehicles you drive around, the sort of equipment your employees are using, all those sorts of things, and what you're thinking about doing in the future. So, Nick, I appreciate your time.
No problems at all.
It's been awesome. I thought when you said you're not much of a talker, I thought, we'll see.
I need to learn to talk. I need to learn to sell.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen one day. That's going to happen early next year. I'm determined.
Yep. Yeah. Well, this is good practice for you.
That is good practice.
But you've done well. I think most people that aren't talkers, you start talking about something they're passionate about, and they're happy to share some little bit of gold nuggets here and there.
Yep.
And I've been trying hard to draw out some gold nuggets from you, but it's been good. And I know that my listeners will get value from listening to you.
Hope so.
So, look, thanks. Hope you have a good afternoon.
You too, mate.
And I'm going to get ready to go out for a Christmas party.
Oh, nice.
It's not a work one, so it's not like the solo work party that we see everyone having fun about.
The meme, we see the meme every second day.
Yep, that's it.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.